Let me.
Hi. Good
Hi, Beatriz.
morning.
Good morning. Hola.
Good morning. Yeah, you want to speak Spanish? You can speak Spanish. You can try. You can
You
try.
heard
Why
the
not?
extent of my Spanish.
Let me tell you, this space, the name is ATMA con Beatriz. The name is in Spanish, and I didn't want it to change it because it's a different meaning. ATMA, it's soul in Sanskrit, which is the language of India that you know I love India. But also ATMA in Spanish means aprendiendo a transformar nuestro mundo en alternativas, learning to transform our world in alternatives. So welcome to this space that I'm super honored and happy to have you here, the happy coach, as I know you. So the first thing before I said how we met and ask you many other things, the first is, who is Jim Smith for Jim Smith?
Who is Jim Smith for Jim Smith? I mean, before we get into my brand and my online identity, I'm a skinny white guy who grew up in Midwest America. I was the oldest of 8 kids. And every day I have compassion for my parents. I have no idea how they did not murder some of us. Really. And I'm the father of raised 4 kids. They're kind of spread out around the country now, except for the one that I live with. A few years ago, we combined households and we built a multi-generational home together. So now I live on this lovely piece of land. It's 6 acres. We've got deer. We've got a pond that we've been mucking out. Lots of lawn to mow. And all 4 of us are great cooks. So when you have 4 adults in the household, we just rotate. Like, we get to eat well every day, but we only have to cook like 1.5 days a week. And I have, when we built the house, I designed a coffee area. So I have my own coffee corner. I have 16 different ways I can make coffee. I counted them last year.
Wow.
16 different ways. I have an espresso machine, an American press, a Euro press, a French press. I can make Greek coffee, cold press coffee, pour over coffee from Costa Rica. Oh, I love coffee, and I love chocolate, and I love dark beer. So that's me in a nutshell.
I knew that you were a coffee lover, but I didn't know that you were like that lover, that kind of real lover.
When I say I worship coffee, this is an actual thing.
You have distinctions. For me, it's black or no.
Well, it usually is black. It usually is black, but there's so many different ways to make it that it turns out differently. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we met before. I mean, the way we met in Colorado, right? But the first time that we met, it was in BAM. Or we met before. I don't know if we met a little bit before. So we met in one program, Body and Movement, back in 2012.
12, yes.
Oh my God, a long time ago. So I was there as a, how can I say, helper. I was like there, like a part of the staff. I was not one of the coaches. However, I was having some interventions in the walk-ins and some of the things that we were doing, and we met there.
Yeah.
And nowadays we are in the project in Singapore together. And Jim Smith is a great, amazing coach, international coach, the happy coach, executive coach, ontological coach. I mean, life coach. You work with different, and you are what are you doing in ICF? Why you know many things? ICF is International Coaching Federations, for those that are connecting here that are not coaches. Maybe ICF is like, what is that? No, but what are you doing there? Because you know a lot about the new markers and the old markers. So you are part of it, or is just your knowledge?
Oh well, I've always been active in the International Coach Federation. from back in its earlier days. I'm not a founder or anything like that. I'm not that old, but I am a founder of a local chapter and one of its first presidents. So I've always been engaged with the work because I was a certified trainer for many years, and I was a certified human resources professional, and I was a certified sales professional back in the day when I was in sales, and I've also worked in finance, and my wife is a CPA, so I really believe in that. So as this profession emerged over the years, I thought it was really important that those of us who are players do all we can to kind of accelerate the professionalization of the profession. Because back when I started coaching, even though I knew what it was, people like you and I knew what it was, but it was still an environment where when people would say, well, what do you do? I say, well, I'm a coach. And they would say, well, what sport? You know, like the concept of working with an executive or working with anyone in their life, kind of side by side to partner to help them get better, it wasn't a thing that most people grasp. So I've always been involved with that, and so once I got my official training as a coach, I went deeper. I trained to become a mentor coach. One of the best ways to learn how to coach is to help teach coaching and to watch other people coach and get coaching and just be in that conversation all the time. And then along the way, I joined some committees. I ended up as an ethics liaison, and most recently, the thing I said yes to was joining the board of the Association of Coach Training Organizations, right? ACTO, the Association of Coach Training Organizations, which is a global organization of coaching schools. And with the ICF rolling out a new code of ethics and a new set of core competencies, I am very deeply involved in understanding those and helping people get trained in them and have better conversations.
And I'm really grateful for the work. I mean, the work that you are doing and how it's impacting also, because I'm part of the different things that you are teaching. And I always, I mean, even though for Zoom, for many things, I like, Jim, I know that you are so knowledgeable and I can go to you, and the way you are always open to share, smiling and yes is amazing. And well, when I say that we met in Body and Movement, it was a training about somatics, and all the people that were there as students, they were coaches, the people in the States, most of them, there was just one from Argentina and another one from Brazil, but everyone else were from the United States. And we were doing this program in Colorado, and I was working as a part of the staff in this Body and Movement because somatics is one of my things since then. But I was like, really 8 years ago, oh my God, time flies. So in this moment, Jim, I always like, many people know you as the happy coach, and you are a person that most of the time, you are with your coffee, one of your, cheers.
You can swim. This is one of my cups where you can dive in and swim laps in it. It's so big, right?
This is, I know, like it's a big coffee, like a American coffee. So most of the people that I know have met you smiling and super optimistic. And how you do that? Because the topic that we choose for today is like how to nurture optimism in a pessimistic world, and the things that we are going through. I mean, in this moment of our lives as a humanity, it's not something that is happening just in one country or in certain sector of the society. It's something that is like really taking everyone and everything in a different perspective, from different angle, because we are in different places and we are doing different things. But what do you suggest? Because you are a human being that also have gone through difficult moments in different situations in your life, but however, you have learned how to live your life even though the things are difficult. And sometimes the people are like, but they're super happy, they're coaches, they can do. And coaches also have a life, and we also go through different situations that impact. So what do you like to share here? How to do that?
Yeah. I'm going to grab that observation you made, that people say, oh, well, you know, it's easy for them, they're coaches. So several years ago, and I've always done some speaking on stage, now through Zoom, but you know, on stage in the real world back when that existed. And one of my topics has always been some dimension of happiness, you know, creating a more positive workplace culture, or how to be happy in your life. Those are the kind of topics that I put out there. And I remember a number of years ago, I ended my program, and as usual, there's Q&A time, question and answer time after the program. And some woman way back in the audience stands up, and she's angry. She's clearly angry. Her body language is, I'm pissed off after listening to this talk. And her question, or her challenge to me essentially was, well, sure, it's easier for you because everything's good in your life. Look where you are, blah, blah, blah. You know, what about us normal people, you know, and kind of thing. It was, and what I remember about that is that I got angry right back, because the first thing that came up for me, and I don't think I said it this way, but was kind of like, how dare you make that assumption? Like, right? And I ended up going into this whole thing about my past and the things that I have dealt with as a human being. Fortunately, and I'll review that in a second, but fortunately, the talk was being recorded, because I have to tell you, the next thing I remember is everybody in the audience is applauding, and I had no idea what I had just said. I was like so affronted by this. But I took that and realized, oh my gosh, what I just said in that moment, in emotion, in response to that woman, is better than the talk that I just gave. So I have added some of that to my talk. But it's essentially this: when I go back and I say, I was one of 8 kids. And I'm not going to say I had a bad life or anything, but I suffered from depression. When I was 16, I tried to take my own life and wasn't successful, clearly. But that's kind of a point, you know, like, you don't do that unless you're really depressed and not connected to happiness. Well, I recovered from that, and landed with a group of people in college and university who connected me with what was then, this is the 1970s, connected me with what was then a very, very brand new, in its infancy, kind of conversation about optimism and how people learn and grow. What eventually turned into positive psychology, I was connected with almost at its birth. And, you know, like a drowning person, I grabbed it whatever I could. And one of the things that really resonated for me way back then was this brand new idea of being on purpose about what you look at. You know, like being very deliberate about looking for things to be positive about. So I've been doing that for years and years, and I still have to do it. I still have to do it on a regular basis, because I can go into dark spaces. So fast forward a number of years. I learned more. I kind of grew up with positive psychology. I brought these principles, some of these practices, even into the way that I lived other parts, you know, that I lived my life. My dad passed away from lung cancer. Believe me, I practiced a lot of gratitude there. A few years later, my youngest brother, to whom I was actually his godfather, we were 14 years apart. I was like his quasi-parent after my dad died. He got a very rare form of leukemia, and died in about 9 months. And he lived his life flat out at full speed until the very last minute. In fact, he was told he had 6 weeks to live, and about 6 months later, he was still alive because he'd gone through therapy and stuff.
Wow.
And the cancer was temporarily in remission, but then it came back. It came back the week of Thanksgiving, which is like a month before Christmas. And about 3 weeks, and he was still alive though, but he was still alive. He was still hanging in there. And about a week before Christmas, this is my brother. He knows he's dying. He knows it's only a matter of weeks. He's got a form of cancer. We've tried every cure. It's not going to work. And he calls me up and he says, Jim, I have a problem. I'm thinking, yeah, you have cancer. Like, what's the problem? He says, no. He said, I thought I was going to die back in November. So like, everything's gone. Like, all my furniture's gone. All my money's gone. You know, I'm back living in a bedroom with mom. And in the family gift exchange back in June, before I was diagnosed, I drew mom for Christmas, and I don't have any money to buy her a gift.
No, I mean,
Like, that's your
so
biggest
sweet.
problem. That's the kind of guy he was, right?
Yeah.
And we worked it out. You know, he inspired me. At his funeral, everybody wore attitude pins on their collar. And then for years after that, I wore that attitude pin. And every day when I put it on, it was to remind me to choose my attitude.
Wow.
So the rest of the story is, when my kids were growing up, we went around the table at night and we said, okay, so what's something good that happened today? And my kids hated it. They hated it. And then, now I'm going to fast forward a little bit more. So when my second oldest daughter was a junior in college, she had a cerebral hemorrhage and died immediately. Suddenly, no warning. And that flattened us. That tragedy flattened us for a while. But what was fascinating to me was that at her funeral, and when someone who's 22 dies, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people come, like
Wow.
people you never knew, right? Suddenly
Yes.
your child has this huge life outside, and all these people came through the line, and the thing that they said to us was, oh, I just loved her smile. She was always so happy. And I'm thinking, who are you talking about? That's not my daughter. You know, my daughter had anger issues, but you know, kids go out and they present differently in the world. And I watched my other 3 kids and how their friends clustered around them and how resilient they were. And I watched how my wife bounced back. And I realized in that moment, like in the line at her funeral, all this work I've been doing my entire life, this stuff works. Because we had friends who'd lost children or lost close relatives years before who were still like dressing in black and mourning every day. And the first thing we started to do was say, okay, so because my daughter died in September, how are we going to celebrate the holidays? How are we going to make it through the holidays? And our first reaction as a family was, okay, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to, you know, like we took the angel on the tree and we painted the hair her color, you know, so that became her. And we just adapted. We bounced. We were resilient. And so that period of my life really cemented for me, I have to get this message out to the world. When you practice looking for the good, when you practice being thankful, what happens is your optimism and your happiness muscles become so strong. And so even when the bad stuff happens, because it does, I've been affected by COVID, my family's been affected by COVID, and all the other stuff going on. But we know how to stand in that space and look around and go, well, that sucks. But hey, there's that over here.
Yeah. Wow.
That's my story.
Wow, Jim. I have heard the story. I mean, and every time that you talk about and the way you and your family went through, it's a lot of blessings for everyone else and a lot of inspiration that how with that, with those big things, because this comment that this lady told you in that conference, and when people said that, yeah, but you don't have children, you don't have this, you don't have that, yeah, but I got this, I got that, I had myself, I had cancer last year. And there's so many things that we go through that it depends how we want to have the relationship with that thing that is happening. You know, it's not just the thing that is happening, it's also my choice, as you said. Yes. Who am I choosing to be facing this? This, I cannot change this, but I can decide, like Viktor Frank said when he was in the concentration camp.
Yes.
Everything can happen, but nobody will take my freedom to choose how do I want to live that situation, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for sharing all this with us in this space and with everyone here. And what is your point of view of now knowing the people that is listening to you, that yeah, you are the happy coach, and if you see Jim, he said 3 generations, and he said many years ago, and he looks super young. You are, how old are you, Jim, now?
How am I now? Let's see. I'm 64.
You don't look like your age. How many?
Well, see, this is what happiness does.
No.
To your face.
Yeah, you are super young here. How old you say?
64.
Oh my God, I thought you were gonna say 16. 64.
No.
And your attitude is like what? How do your friends, how do they say that you look like? They don't say like, oh, you're like 40s, 50s.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I do enjoy getting that kind of feedback, and I know part of it is because, well, see, here's another part of my story. Let me tell you this other part of my story. Because people say blah blah blah. Well, you know, you're this fitness buff and everything else. So okay, so let me tell you why I look like this. Okay, because I was an athlete in high school and college. I was a swimmer, and so I was like mean, and you know. And then I graduated and I got married and I got a job and we bought a house and we started having kids, and I went back to school for my master's degree, and I was going to work in the day and school at night. And I was basically living on things out of vending machines, granola bars mostly. Mm-hmm. And when I was 28, the day that I turned in my master's thesis, and I had stayed up all night working on it on a typewriter, an old typewriter, because like there were no computers yet. I stayed up all night, so I was exhausted. I drove to the campus, turned it in to my advisor, like, this is done. Oh my God, this is the last part of my master's, right? And I went into work, and I remember hanging up my coat in my office, and I went out on the floor to start talking to people. And the next thing I remember is I am strapped on a gurney being wheeled into an ambulance. I had collapsed at work.
Wow.
Well, so that led over the next year or so, I had a whole series of these little mini heart attacks. Anyway, I ended up in the cardiac intensive care unit of our major hospital at age 28. Let me tell you, hospitals don't know what to do with you when you're a heart attack victim at age 28, because like they sent me to a pediatric cardiologist who has pictures of babies on his wall. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, my doc, it turned out to be an electrical problem, not a physical blockage or anything. But I had to go on heavy heart medications for years, and my doctor basically sat me down and said, if you don't change the track you're on, you're going to die before you're 50 because this thing kills people. And so it terrified me. In that moment, I had like a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old. My wife was afraid I was going to die. I was afraid I was going to die.
Wow.
So so I'm going to move that story forward. They came up with an experimental cure, and I was a young guy, so I got to be part of the testing, and it worked. So now what they did to me is now a routine procedure for my arrhythmia. But in the meantime, for 4 years on heavy medication, I had to change my life. At the time of my attack, I was 35 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Wow.
I had very high blood pressure. I had the cholesterol of like a 60-year-old, only I was 28. It was really, I was not taking care of myself. So, all of my self-care was built around not dying. It was the terror of dying. And I remember writing a goal when I was 30 years old. I went to this workshop where you're supposed to create your life vision. And one of the things that I wrote down, one of the visuals that I wrote for myself was, I will wear the same size suit at age 66 as I did at age 22. That was my visual for physical health.
In 2 years, you have to send us a picture.
So right now I'm 2 years short of that goal. And right now I wear one pant size less than I wore in college.
I was going to tell you that. Yeah. I thought that. Yes.
And so that's another thing I've always been working on, so like, here I am, I'm depressed and I'm living in fear of dying. This is, my late 20s, early 30s were not a really good emotional time.
Yeah.
But again, it worked for me. And so now I'm like, if you're going to set a goal, create a really big goal, put something that's out there that every day you can think about, well, what am I doing today?
Yeah.
That is supporting that. It just became like exercise and diet became so different for me because every day that I got up and didn't want to work out, my thinking is, well, so is today the day you're gonna die, right? And so after doing that for 4 years, by the time I was cured, my habits were set, right? But I still had that thought every day. Oh man, I don't really want to work out, but now I'm only 2 years away from that.
No. But when your friends, when I'm saying about that, I also feel I'm part of your team. I think that I'm also growing younger. I'm feeling much younger now than when I was.
Oh yeah.
I'm 52 now, and I feel like I look younger than when I was 40, for example. And I have some of my friends that also are in that, like, I say, okay, the hormones, and now both of us have gone through this program of health coaching, that we are focused in our own health and how to take care of our own habits. And that is also important, that what you are saying, that it's not just, it's amazing if people can come to these kind of programs, that they go in their own journey of analyzing and checking and do things that will help them to be healthier. But if somebody don't come to that kind of program, that question of what am I doing to be healthier in this moment, right, in life? But it's amazing the way you look. You look, I don't know if the same or a little bit younger than when I met you, when we're in color, like the attitude and the way, the smiling, the skin, everything. What do you recommend, Jim, in this moment that we are going through pandemics and anxiety and many things? How to create this, how to nurture more? With all the stories that you have told us, but people that have not gone through that, and they have not been able to get off of this sensation or news. One of the things that I also recommend always is like, stop watching news that is not helping you. It's good to know what is going on, but if you're focusing the news, is not needed. But what do you really recommend for nurture this optimism and this pessimistic world that sometimes we are immersed in.
Right, right. So I'm gonna first of all, I want to totally endorse your primary recommendation. Media, all forms of media. So social media, television, news, all of that is designed, and most people don't think about it this way. Seth Godin has a great rant where he goes into the background of the design of phones and colors and what they do and everything else. All of it is designed out of the context of casino games, like slot machines. You know, they are built in a way to seduce you and pull you toward them. And so that's how social media is designed. You know, it pulls up front the things that are flashing and pinging and screaming and bleeding, and the same thing in the news. But the truth is that of all the things that happen in the world today, only about 1/10 millionth of 1% of all that shows up on the news. You know, there's several billion people on the planet, and they tell us about the things that were burning and the people that were killed and the blood that's running in the street and the bomb that went off. And as Peter Diamandis, he's the abundance guy, as he reminds us all the time, we are in a better place as a world right now than we've ever been in human history. I mean, there are no active conflicts in half the world. Like, there's nothing going on in North and South America right now in terms of active conflicts. Is there political conflict? Yeah, but there's no active wars. Much of the world is at peace. There are more people able to eat today than ever before. Are there people in poverty? Are there people starving? Absolutely. But it's in a relative sense, we are in a better place as a species than ever. We have climate issues, yes, and we have lots of people, despite the bluster of politicians who argue whether it's real or not, we have lots and lots of people who are very quietly working on solutions, on ways to fix many of the stupid things we've done as human beings. And you know, so every day you get to choose what you look at. So nurturing optimism. One really powerful way is to just recognize that everything that happens in the world is just a thing that happens. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so, to quote Hamlet, okay? Or quote Shakespeare, Hamlet speaking. Yeah. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So an example I invite people to consider is clouds. So imagine looking outside your window in the morning and the sky is full of gray clouds. What's going on, right? What's the story you tell yourself? So the only data point here is the sky has clouds. And as any scientist will tell you, the meaning of clouds, like dark, heavy clouds, is clouds are water carriers. That's what clouds are. Yeah. So when you have dark, heavy clouds, you look at it, you go,
condensing okay, water there.
There's going to be, right? There's fresh water right there. It's coming to me. So imagine you're looking out that window. If you have just planted a garden, you might look out the window and go, oh, good, it's going to rain. I don't have to water today. If you're a farmer and it hasn't rained in a couple months or a couple days or whatever, same thing, right? Hey, okay, my crops are saved. If you happen to be a bride whose wedding is occurring that day outdoors, suddenly for you, it's a terrible thing. So maybe you're going to be sad or angry.
Or if you're in India, it's very good luck.
Right? Yeah.
India is like, oh my God, it's raining good. But
you know, let me tell you, on my wedding day, it was 1,000,000 degrees in the morning and very, very humid. And I remember sweating through the entire suit I had on. And we got married in church, and it was beautiful and hot and sunny. And then we went into a park to take pictures, and these clouds came out of nowhere and it burst, and literally we were throwing our coats over the bride to keep her dry, right? And it poured and poured and poured, and to the point where they had to pull our car up to the hall, to the door, to let us out, because the ground was like flooded. It was coming down in torrents. And so Beatriz, so every single person who walked into that reception, the first thing they said was, "Oh, it means good luck when it rains on your wedding." And we're like, "That shit. What it means is we're soaking wet."
Yeah, you want to go with the groom, so no.
Anyway, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
But seriously, stay with the bride thing for a second. So, and somebody else might look at it and say, "Oh, when it rains on your wedding, it's good luck." Same clouds. This bride is crying. This bride is angry. This bride is like, "Oh, there's luck." This bride is over here, and this bride has a contingency plan. They were planning outdoors, but they've got a backup in the hall. So all she does is she picks up the phone, makes a phone call, and says, "Hey, Dad, we got to go to plan B." And then she stops thinking about it. All of those are valid, right? So every day, good stuff is happening in the world, and every day, bad stuff is happening in the world. And it's going to happen no matter what. So your experience of life depends entirely on which of those events you pay the most attention to. So in this pandemic time, like you say, a lot of us have been crushed by this. I mean, I'm talking to people. One of my clients yesterday, she's an executive. She's been working out of her dining room. Her 2 daughters are home studying from college in their bedrooms. Her husband has his office in the living room, and they got COVID. And they're unsure how, but they think one of their daughters she's studying to be a nurse, and she's an intern at a hospital, and they think it came home through her, and they all have it to various degrees. And they've been locked in their house. They cannot even leave to get groceries for 7 days. They've got 3 more days before they can come out of a complete lockdown. Oh my gosh, right? But halfway through our conversation yesterday, when she was talking about how sad and heavy she feels and everything else, so I asked her the question I've been asking everybody. Okay, I mean, yes, it's all true, and yes, it can be hard, and yes, I understand, I feel the isolation. So just indulge me for a minute. What's something good about the pandemic? Like, what is something you are grateful for that wouldn't have occurred if not for the quarantine? And I ask the question of a lot of people, and I get a lot of answers. And many times people are going, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that." Because they say things like, "I got all my commute time back. I've been walking more. I've been spending more time in nature. I've been spending more time with my kids, even though I also have to homeschool my kids, which is a pain, but I am spending time with them," right? Or there's a couple billion people around the world who are saying, "I've been baking more bread." Like everybody just start over it. "I've been baking more bread. I've been cooking more at home. I've been eating healthier food," right? I'm cooking every day. So the downside is, I have to cook every day. But the upside is, hey, I've been cooking every day, and I've been experimenting, and I've had moments of fun, and I've learned new technology so I can communicate with my mom, and on and on, right? And so a big chunk of nurturing optimism is really just about choosing. So back to your point, just about making a choice. Even if you do continue to look at social media and continue to watch network news, which is designed to terrify you and build fear, just be aware of that. Know that that's their job. Their job is to make you so afraid that you have to come back for their next newscast to find out what's the rest of the story and, how is this fire going to end? But choose to go look at other things. Choose to give equal time to the things that are calm and quiet and
Yeah. You know, I started being an independent distributor of essential oils last year.
Yes.
And I start like, well, I will start. And this year, since February, the team start growing, because we have had time to dedicate, to learn, to do a lot of meetings. And last week, I create a group, Facebook private group for the group, and the name is ATMA also.
Yeah.
And last Sunday, I decided to introduce conversations with the teens, with the daughters, the children of the distributors in my team, but in the age from 11 to 17. So I have this conversation with two girls. One is 11 and the other is 17. And I asked them, how have you lived the pandemic? And she, well, the one in 11 years old, she told me, pandemic is not a problem. What is the problem is that the people is with fear and it's afraid. And that is the problem, because when you are afraid of something, your immune system goes down. And I was like, okay, how do you know that? And she was like, it's important to understand that this will go by when it has to go by, but we need to be strong. She was telling me that, and I was like, that's beautiful that the kids are getting that, that the new generations are also, this is part of their lives. They say, it's not nice to have homeschooling. I miss my classmates, I cannot see them, but this is what we are living. We need to be strong and see what we can do. And I was like, yeah, and it's what you're saying, it's how to really choose and find out what are the good things that are going into my life because of this or because of everything, any circumstance. How am I relating with that? Do you have any other advice, any other option? Choosing one that is very strong and very important. And I think that everything, that's the umbrella, right? That's the big umbrella. But
Yeah.
what else, the people that is really that, yeah, but how can I start choosing? How can I start like moving from my anxiety to my calmness? How can I start? Because now in Mexico, at least, that they are saying that this is not going to stop now in December. So be prepared, because it's next year, there are going to be few months or many months or many the whole year. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
This is
at least
up and
6
down,
months, at least 6 months, vaccines
yeah.
and everything
Yes.
else. Yeah. So we have to learn how to make these things habits, don't we? Right. So, okay. So what are things people can do? So one is you and I have already talked about, just limit media, limit your exposure to media. If you watch the news, that's great, but just watch it and then leave. Like, don't turn on CNN and keep watching it over and over and over and over.
The whole day, no need. They are
to me,
just
it's
repeating.
like, if they've told me a hurricane is coming, I know a hurricane is coming now. I do not need to turn on the Weather Channel and watch the hurricane move mile by mile across the entire Atlantic Ocean and get myself all worked up. So that's a choice.
Yeah.
Number two, and we already talked about it, is make a space every day to write down some good things. Write down some things you're grateful for, things that have happened in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as, I saw a hawk flying in the sky this morning and it just made me smile, right? It doesn't have to be big stuff, but it could be big stuff. Another is to reach out to other people, to be kind. Being kind is a way to live your life that nurtures so many good emotions in us, and definitely our resiliency. When we reach out and send a note to somebody or give them a call or arrange a Zoom chat with somebody who's isolated, or at this time of year, it might be about sending a gift or sending a holiday card, or just reaching out and letting somebody know you're thinking about them. All of those, any kind of social contact or extending yourself to somebody else, it makes them feel good. It helps you. Another is to make time for yourself.
Very
because
important.
the world is busy, 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 we think we're all supposed to be living this script. We're supposed to be out there doing and taking care of people, and this is especially true for women. You know, we have this global conversation going on about how women are more impacted by the pandemic shutdown. They're the ones who have to work at home and take care of the kids, and more women are pulling out of the workplace, and they're having to, you know.
And the husband is at
constantly
home,
busy.
and it doesn't used to be.
Yeah.
And you know, like that is like I was like, oh my God, you know, that is a big thing for me,
Yeah.
for that woman. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So it's important to create time for yourself.
Mm,
It's the old take your own oxygen first. If you're on a plane, take
yes.
your own oxygen first, because it's great if you're the hero, but if you're a dead hero, you know, that doesn't do anybody any good.
Mm,
And another thing you can do is to spend time in nature. Whether you're in a big city and the nature you get to is, you know, a small park or a corner or just a tree outside your apartment, but at least you're outside in the fresh air. If you have a dog, dogs are a bonus in this pandemic, because dogs force you to go outside and walk them. You
yeah,
know, like
I don't have
having a
dog.
dog is a good thing, right? And but you know, just they call it nature bathing or forest bathing. It's going out and just being in those elements. Go to a local metro parks or something, and just let it go. Like, turn off everything. It allows your system to heal, so that when you go back into the stress place again, you have more capacity, more resilience. Yeah.
Mm,
And you know what? The last thing I would put on that list is, it's what Oprah calls breathe on purpose. Right? I've always loved that language for it. Just every once in a while, stop. And just breathe. Oh my God. Isn't that lovely and juicy? You just notice how everything just kind of relaxes.
yeah,
You
I
get a
love
little
it.
burst of oxygen.
Yeah.
Doing little things like that, you know, just a little bit every day, and you build more resilience. You build more capacity for looking at something and seeing the good, or expecting the good.
Mm.
And that's how you nurture optimism and happiness and joy.
Yeah, amazing. It's just very simple. I mean, it requires intention. It requires
Intention.
intention to change the channel or to turn on off the TV. It requires intention to say, I'm not going to be in charge of anyone else, but I will be in charge of myself, and I will dedicate time to myself. It requires intention to, if it's a park or if it's a tree, go out and do the things on my own. And it requires how I am choosing to relate with the clouds. That if I want to see that, oh my God, it's raining. Oh my God, wow, I have the opportunity to see them. I start with that, taking care of my time. Like, I don't know if 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, I said, you know, from 2 to 4 every day, because I have now a big team with these essential oils and I have clients. And what I catch myself, I was answering messages, even though when I was having lunch or when I was cooking, or I was like, I have to answer. And I was like, I don't have to answer. And people need to understand that I have time that I'm not going to be available. Nothing will happen. So I decide that when I'm going down to cook and have my lunch, the phone stays in the room and nothing has happened. I mean, and I'm really time for me, doing my thing, focusing myself, like, and then if I go and walk to the park that is very close, it's like time for me. And if someone in my team is writing, and I have seen messages that I say it's 2 to 4, I need to educate myself, and then people will be educated that at that time, oh, from 2 to 4 she never answers, so don't write. Right before or after, I will be there. So it's, you know, it's like a part of and one of the things that I'm doing that I would love to invite you, the thing is that the instructions are in Spanish, but everything is in English. We are dancing every day at 6 a.m. in the morning, Mexico, which is your 7 a.m. I mean, from Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I have this space that is not mine. I was invited for someone the name is Amanece Positivo, Awakening Positive. So what we do is like a short centering that is done by one of my colleagues. And then we start moving the body, and then you a little bit of instructions. But yesterday, I mean, the last Monday, someone from Belgium came. So I said something in English for her. So if one day you show up, I will tell you what we are doing. And I speak slowly when somebody speaks English, in Spanish, in the case that just for, but it's just dancing.
Spanish is always.
It's like to create oxytocin, dopamine, and it's like just to awakening the body, smile, and it's 30 minutes. That's it, 3 days per week, and we are 50 or 60 people coming to do this. It's free. It's a free space, so I will send you the link, and you are super welcome to come.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
To start closing this space, I just have to tell you that I'm, as always, is an honor and privilege and super happy in my heart to have you and talk to you and listen to you. And I love your GQ style you are always super clean, neat, perfect. Like you are inspiration for all the guys that doesn't matter how old we are, we can be perfect presented all the time.
We can.
You are rare, but it's true. You're always super handsome, cute, perfect, like GQ.
I feel my cheeks are getting hot right now.
I know, but it's true. You look, I have never seen you like, no. Even though in BAM, always like, perfect. So that is an attitude. That is an attitude of care. That is an attitude of taking care of yourself. It's not just the image. It's how you love yourself, how you present yourself for yourself. And everybody else is, it's a gift. Because we see you.
Yeah. Well, and I would add that to the list of things you can do to nurture this in yourself. Because I'll tell you, there are days when I don't see clients. There are days when I've locked out my calendar and there's no one else who's looking at me, but I still get up and I exercise and I shower and I get dressed up, because this for me, looking in the mirror, is so I can say, okay, I'm good. Right? I'm good.
Yes.
It's not for somebody else to affirm it. It's I need to believe it. And
exactly.
And that's something that, I offer to anybody who's listening is, just like, you take care of you. Make sure you feel good about you. And don't worry about what other people think, because what they think doesn't matter. What you think.
Exactly. I agree.
Matters. Yeah.
Totally. I'm in your team. So for me, just to tell you, grateful that I am that we will be able to share our conversation with our friends, our colleagues, the people that is going through the program journey, the coaching journey that we are working together in Singapore, and our friends and everyone else, because I really would love that many more people get to know your story and your inspiration, that no matter what we have lived, if we are with gratitude in our heart, we can go through the things that are coming into our journey. We don't choose some things, but once the things are there, how we face them. So with that, I just give you the space if you want to say something, so you close this space. And thank you for being here, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for you and your family. But if you want to say something, tell me to close.
Well, thank you also for pulling this conversation together. I always have fun speaking with you, and I'm really excited about dancing.
I will send you the link.
I dance a little every day, but by myself, kind of thing. So, I guess the way I might close this is just to remind everyone that it's my tagline. It's my tagline. It's my personal mantra, and it's my tagline. And that is that happiness is a decision, not an event. It's something you can choose every day. It's not something you have to wait for to happen. It's the way you can live your life. You can choose it every day.
Thank you, happy person. Love you
It was
very
my
much.
pleasure, Beatriz.
I send you the link so you can come on Friday or anytime to dance. I tell you everything
Excellent.
by WhatsApp.
Excellent.
Thank you. Love you very
Bye-bye
much.
now.
Keep in touch. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.